Well, today I'm going to talk a bit about slag glass and what we call end of day glass. I'm putting them both in this video because they have some similarities, and that often gets them confused with one another. So I also want to talk about the differences. Slag glass is usually two colors that are blended together in a way that rather resembles marble at times. Became really popular in the 19th century, has remained popular through the 20th century, usually made in a mold, or maybe always made in a mold, I can't, or mold blown. The most common color in the 19th century would have been purple and white, and then you got some brown or caramel and white. Later into the 20th century, you started seeing a lot more variety with blue and white, green and white, orange and white, a lot of different colors. That showed up especially on some of the novelty items such as the covered animal dishes, and that the colors really kind of started to expand later in the 20th century, really with some of the reproductions. Summit Glass and one or two other companies, especially in the 90s, really just loaded up on reproductions, and the colors on those are often rather harsh, garish, glaring, and not really as attractive. Now note, with some of those later reproductions, you'll still see a Westmoreland mark on them. It's just because they used a Westmoreland mold, didn't remove the mark the way they're supposed to. It's illegal, and they still were pretty much allowed to get away with it. So slag glass, hey, it's pretty. You know, in terms of collectability, the garish ones I wouldn't collect, you know, period. I don't like looking at them. In the 60s, maybe the 70s, you did have some reproductions by people like Westmoreland and some other companies. They were fair quality, maybe not quite as interesting as the early ones. You know, the animal dishes that had glass eyes in the originals didn't, you know, in the later ones. So it is going to generally be, the older it is, the more value it has in terms of collectability. Now, end of day glass. This gets kind of complicated. And I want to try to clear up some confusion, some just wrong stuff that continues to be said even by sites and people who should know better. What we call end of day glass usually has one base color and then multiple colors, kind of spotty and splotchy, all, you know, on part of the vase, all of the vase. Sometimes called splatter glass because it looks like the, you know, colors were splattered on, or spatter glass, whether you want to include the L or not, it's all the same. And this type of glass is called end of day glass because it looks like you just used up a lot of leftovers. No, that's not how spatter, splatter, end of day type of glass was made, nor why it was made. And heaven knows given the amount that is out there, and it's been made for a long, long time, the idea that workers just made this at the end of the day from leftovers would mean that the workers were staying there for a long, long time, and there were a lot of leftovers. I mean, workers aren't just going to do this for the heck of it and produce these amounts. Spatter glass is a very intentional type of glass. Generally mold blown or blown glass that's rolled across a frit of multicolored, glass pieces. And it was produced as a regular part of company lines. The Fenton Mosaic, which is a type of this glass, is one of the most valuable Fenton glasses. It is not just something that was slapped together at the end of the day. And especially not in any attempt to use up remaining glass. The glass would stay hot. They'd be kept hot all night and used the next day. You really aren't going to get it to where you have just the right amount of glass and use up the last little bit or something like that. And plus the chemistry involved in getting glass colors that react well, that cool at the same rate. The chemistry involved in glass making is extensive and fascinating. Now, if somebody says, hey, look at this spatter glass, end of day glass, it was made by workers at the end of the day. No. Now, workers did sometimes work past hours or during a lunch break, something like that, in the factories where it was allowed. And they would be using glass out of what was remaining. Not particularly in an attempt to use up that last bit, which may be quite a lot of glass. But end of day would have been a glass artist trying to create something special, something different. It was a way to work on the art that wasn't necessarily given a chance during the day, to express themselves, to stretch themselves, to test themselves, and to show off. They weren't just going to be making these end-of-day spatter glasses. They were playing around in much more inventive ways. These are the one type of things that might be called friggers. That term isn't used much anymore. Might also be called whimsies. Now, it is possible that some whimsical items were official production. But work done at the end of the day would be something the worker really wanted to do for themselves, for a friend, for family, or for some type of competition. That would be end of day glass, which is not a very good term for it. Whimsy is probably better. So spatter, splatter, end of day glass was not made at the end of the day. It was regular production. There's a lot of it. Most of it is not overly valuable, though all quite attractive and fun. It is whimsical, if not a whimsy. Some, like Fenton Mosaic, is extremely valuable. You have to know the piece. You have to, just look at it and say, hey, is this a better than average piece? But don't think you're buying something that a guy stayed after hours to make. Okay. Hope I cleared a few things up and didn't cause too much additional confusion. And I know there are sources out there that are still going to tell you differently, but oh well. I don't think there are many things, if any, that you'll get everybody to agree on. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you will click the like button, subscribe, make comments, and share. And watch more of the channel. So long.